Saturday, just the wait to find out if you were going to get that at-large bid?
Yeah, absolutely. I was nervous. The coaches, I mean, they believed I'd get one of those bids, but still, it wasn't for certain. So I was definitely a little nervous because I didn't perform as well as I know I should have. But when I found out that news, it kind of all the nerves went away. I'm excited.
I mean, what was that moment like when you find out you get the at-large? I mean, who's the first person you text or call up when you find out that news?
I found out right at the beginning of practice a couple days ago, and so it was just I didn't really have time to go call anyone or anything, but talked to the coaches and they're pretty excited. The team was excited for me, so yeah.
Oh, and obviously you're the 30th seed, but how much do you look to a guy maybe like a Dakota Gear, where you think back a few years ago, where he was in the mid 20s and he ends up as an All American, just knowing that that's just a number. You still have to go out there, guys still have to wrestle you, and you still have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. The seed is that's just a number next to my name. I mean, you're gonna have to wrestle these guys no matter what. Uh, people do these crazy things at the NCAA's all the time.
How do you feel? Just I know John's even mentioned the fact that you came in expecting to wrestle at a lower weight. How do you feel now after last year and getting this bid this year of having made that move for the team and for yourself up to heavyweight?
It's been a long road, but I can see the progress that I'm making, and it's kind of had to change the way I wrestle a little bit. But I've noticed that I've been getting better, and it's showing right now with this bid.
How have you tried to utilize being an undersized heavyweight? Yeah, you maybe utilizing your athleticism a little bit more.
Yeah, I've been smaller my whole life. In high school, my freshman year, I wrestled 113 pounds, so I was tiny, and so I've always been good at scrambling and stuff. So I try to use that to my advantage with these bigger guys.
It's crazy you say that because it reminds me of Derek White. I mean, he
Yeah,
mentioned the fact that he was saying when he was a freshman he was under he was right around 100 pounds, and then ends up going to be a finalist at heavyweight for you
yeah.
guys. Appreciate it, Austin.
Thank you.
Hey, Austin, I remember at the beginning of the season, you talked about, over the off season and even this season, how much you've, used the weight room in your diet. Can you just talk a little bit about, like, at this point, what does your diet and I guess, your weight plan look like?
Uh, we've kind of slowed down in the weight room a little bit as we get towards NCAAs, but I was lifting hard 3 or 4 times a week and kind of just I was on training table and just trying to get as much food as I can in me. Uh, it's been tough, but it's fun. I enjoy it, eating as much as I want, just taking a bunch of protein, just trying to get bigger, and the weight room's been my best friend.
Obviously, you guys have different things you can eat, but on your diet, what is your favorite? I mean, your favorite protein to eat?
I love just red meat, probably. Steaks are my favorite.
Okay, thanks.
Austin, after this past weekend, you guys literally, all the questions of 1 point here, 1 point there, whether it's team point deducted, or if one guy would have gotten a bonus point, or if one guy would have gotten one round further, being the difference. How do you guys carry that knowledge into the NCAA's, knowing that every point literally does count when it comes to the national championships?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone kind of thought about it, about what, like, one thing they could have done better to get us the outright championship. And so we're all pretty motivated to do our part here at the NCAA tournament because we know it absolutely every point matters.
How much? Again, I know the NCAA is going to be a new experience for you, but having been through tournament style, obviously the Big 12, what's the mindset knowing that you're wrestling individually, but also that you need to think about the team aspect as well. The fact that it's not just that, I guess for you, 7 other guys are counting on you to get some points for them.
Absolutely. I love it. I think it helps because you got, I mean, I got my brothers on my back, and I know they're trying to do the same thing for me that I'm trying to do for them.
Thanks, Austin.
Hey, I'm just curious. Looking at the bracket, you're the 30 seed. You're going against number 3, and I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but a win there would likely set up a Bedlam rematch with Heinzelman. If that scenario were to happen, just how crazy would that be to have Bedlam for the 4th time this season in St. Louis?
Yeah, that would be crazy. I think that could be something that happens in. I think there was a couple weights that could happen. So that's definitely that's crazy.
Thanks.
Do we have any other questions for Austin? All right, thanks for joining us, Austin.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Austin.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, Coach will be on here. I told him 10, so we'll have a couple minutes, and he's on his way here right now.
Okay, thanks.
And then Boo, and it'll be Boo and then Daton.
Hello, fellas.
Hey.
Hey, John.
Hey, I'm just curious. I know, at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the season, particularly in Bedlam, you've talked about Austin Harris in his confidence, knowing that he has a seed going into St. Louis. How do you, as a coach, unlock Harris's confidence?
Before we get started, let me inform you of a situation that's happened here in the last hour. 157-pound wrestler has dropped out of the weight class, and Wyatt Sheets is in. So he must have been the last one on the bubble. So where Wyatt will fall in would be number 33. So he would be the 33rd wrestler, I assume, that will be added to the bracket. And so I assume that he have that pigtail and then wrestle the number 1 wrestler in the country. So Wyatt Sheets is in the tournament, and we're excited about it. We're excited about this opportunity for him. Be his first opportunity, along with Harris, his first opportunity to wrestle at the national tournament. Those opportunities are valuable if you use them. With Harris, like your question you asked, still needs to grow into the weight class, but a lot better effort this year from the standpoint of challenging and being in every match. There was a lot of matches last year that he wasn't in, and seemed like this year he closed the gap on a lot of people that gave him that opportunity to get into the national tournament.
Going back to Wyatt real quick, I'm sure that's got to be an emotional roller coaster for a guy, knowing that, Saturday you got to wait for an at-large, Tuesday you don't get it, and then here 2 days later after the brackets are announced that you are going.
Yeah. Well, Jason, had literally in the last 15 minutes, before I got on here, I was informed by NCAA, the spot had opened up. You have till 12 noon to reply if you want it. Of course, it didn't take us long. So, I was a little surprised he didn't get it anyway, but I knew he was going to be right there. I knew maybe the number of qualifiers that we got at that weight class, I think, was 3 at-large bids. So we got 3 additionals. Now we got another 4, and I knew that we were going to need to get 4 to get him in, and we did. So good for Wyatt Sheets. We've talked about his injuries. We talked about him battling through them. We've talked about there's probably maybe 10-12% of the wrestlers, if that could compete or even finish the season with what he had. And here we are extending this season out for Wyatt and taking 9 guys to the NCAA Championships. So great, exciting news.
What was his reaction when you informed him?
Well, he was in class.
Okay.
I kept calling him and I kept calling him. And he finally texted me back, I'm in class. I said, well, you're also in the nationals. So he goes, what do you mean? So we corresponded back by text while he was in class. And man, I'll just read you what he said here. Let's see if I can figure out these phones. I said, "Are you okay with going to national?" "Yes, I'm okay. I'm excited to get this opportunity. I'm excited about getting this opportunity." That's what he said. "Yes, I'm excited about getting this opportunity." So, good.
What class was he in? I'm just curious. What class was he in when you texted him?
You got me.
Okay.
Yeah, you think I should know that, but I could probably pull it up, but I'm not sure. I'm just glad he's in class. You know, no, he's a good student. He's
So, I mean, was there already preparations though in place of surgery, or were you guys? Was that still going to be
Yeah,
a
we
wake
were
call
going.
for him anyway?
Yeah. It was either going to be late this week or no, it was going to be early next week, Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Okay.
You know, you want to be a little bit careful about, you know, pushing that, you know, just yeah, we probably shouldn't say anything on that, but you know, just definitely we were in progress of taking care of the injury and definitely was going to do it as quick as possible, whatever needed to be done, if there needed to be surgery done. That's the way I should put it, and just make sure that, you know, that he was, you know, we was following through with this season that where we knew he was injured, and instead of really, you know, still really finding out what was wrong with it, kind of went forward because he had some stability on that leg that we felt pretty fortunate that that he had strong enough hamstrings to hold everything in.
How difficult has that been for him? Because it seemed like at the Big 12s, you could see wrestlers specifically going for that leg, making it difficult for him to try to get out of situations.
It's tough, you know. I mean, you know this, but listen, he didn't wrestle that great at the Big 12. You know, I mean, whether you're wrestling on one leg or whether you're wrestling on two, you didn't wrestle that great. You know, he just, you know, he didn't get re-injured there. He didn't re-hurt it. You know, he just emotionally, he wasn't really put together, you know, and it's limiting, but when things limit you because of something that maybe is forcing you to wrestle a little different, bring your best game, man. You got to have your best game. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room for emotional, you know, letdown. So he had to have a better tournament than what he had to go to the nationals, and a good thing he did win a match. How many did he win?
He went 1 and 2.
Yeah, at least he won a match, because that was the difference in him probably going and getting this opportunity. So hopefully, you know, he takes advantage of it.
Looking at the team as a whole and the seeding you guys got yesterday, was there any number or that kind of caught you off guard of a guy being placed in their bracket?
Well, I thought Woodlake going to 10, you know, it's kind of silly. You know, that's I mean, we're you know, I guess, you know, why drop him so far, you know, with the guy that he only got, you know, got beat by a guy that's ranked in the top, what, 12?
Now he is.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, anyway, that seemed a little bit far, but other than that, nothing really surprised me. Kind of odd that Ferrari's wrestling the guy that was ranked #1 in the Big 12, in the tournament, all of a sudden, really? That's not, I mean, for a guy that's seated 4th in the bracket, that draw is not what you expect. Normally, you draw guys that in the 30s and in the high 20s, and I'm trying to figure out how they put him up in the high 20s, but they didn't give much respect to the Big 12 at 197 either. Let me tell you, I mean, not much respect at all. So
It's not like there's 4 guys in the top 10 at that weight in the Big 12 or anything.
yeah, they just didn't give much respect. I mean, we'll find out. I mean, normally they put these guys through a little tougher route, where their first round matches are going to be tough in the Big 12 at 197. Even AJ's the highest ranking Big 12 guys, you're hitting a pretty competitive guy right off. I mean, we'll just see how it goes. But the rest of them, it's about where they fall, Plot, and Ferrari, Gear and Harris, Mastro. I mean, that's about where we fall, So when you look at it, it doesn't look like a great tournament team, but hopefully we'll turn it into one.
Well, obviously, a lot of people recently think back to Dakota Gear, being a mid-20 seed coming in and being an All-American. Between Dustin and Trevor being kind of on the extreme outside of those top 8s, what do you think those guys need to do to possibly elevate themselves to become All-Americans?
Well, I mean, you look at Plot, and he's just going to have to finish matches, emotionally, and he's going to stay a little bit stronger. I thought he had a nice little breakthrough at the Big 12 when in his consolation semifinal match. Just really felt like he kind of wrestled through the moment, and we hadn't seen that in the last 6 or 7 matches. So, those are the things that are going to happen. Is he tough enough? Is he good enough? Right now, he is good enough. Needs to get tougher. And we know that there's some things that is very discomfortable for him, and it's not real comfortable for him. But you know what? If you're going to do something this way, you're going to have to get a little bit tougher and deal with some things a little bit better in a match. So I really believe for him that I think his best wrestling's ahead of him because of what I saw at the Big 12. Mastro, there wasn't much thought to Mastro right following that semi-consolation round. Just not much of an effort, and then he comes back and wrestles the guy from Iowa State, who I think went into overtime with in Iowa State. And he tech falls him, scores additional 1.5 for the team. Those are the things that give you hope and give you some hope for the future. And so with Mastro, wrestle like you did in your last match. Show me that kind of emotion, and I think you'll have a pretty good tournament. What that is, I'm not sure.
How's his knee feeling? I mean, is it something that may need? Okay.
Yeah, he's fine. That knee got a lot better after he won that last match.
Yeah, because it looked like he was hobbling pretty good, so I didn't know.
Yeah, well, he wasn't hobbling during the match, but he was hobbling after he won 15. So, yeah. I did it on one leg. He's a
so
good.
It's more for the dramatics.
Yeah. I don't give him much love on that stuff.
Well, then obviously, let's chat a little bit about your 2 veterans that we'll be having on here after you, Daton and Boo. I guess first off with Boo, I mean, he's a guy that, going back to last year, people thought that he has the potential of winning a championship, winning it all. I guess what's the expectation this year with him and being that 4 seed there?
Well, it's a tough weight class. It's deep. Boo has to continue to focus on things he does really well and not get away from it a little bit. He got exposed a little bit at the Big 12 a little when it comes to falling into some situations. He went up 4-0 with that tilt, and then all of a sudden reverse and a tilt. It's 4-4, and I think you can see somebody maybe go backwards right there. And I was glad he kind of broke through that and really performed after that. So. Because that could have been a scenario where things might have gone backwards, but he did a really good job on just recovering. And he had to recover after he got tilted. He got tilted for 2 back points. And even then, you look at the points that his opponent scored was 4 back points and 1 reversal, So when you see those kind of things, that's kind of lends, or you'll see those things and you'll see someone getting upset because of 4 back points in a reversal, no takedowns, So I think he had to recover through several scenarios in that match, which ought to make him a little bit stronger in preparing for this week. He's going to need to, be ready to win some tough, close matches. That's just what this weight is about. You're not going to go blow people out. You're going to have to win tough, close matches, and you need to win maybe a couple of them or 2 or 3 of them in a row. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing well at this weight. So I think it's a tournament we're going to go through that's going to be blowing wide open. I mean, you're going to see crazy things from one end to the other. I think probably the seeds on some of these weights are crazy. I mean, they got some people in the top 5 that I'm going there. They won't even place. I don't even. So you're going to see some of that, and with the odd season, I think we're going to just see some things that we've never seen, and we have I think we have a weight classes that got guys in there that in a typical year would never be in there.
No. Now with Daton, I mean, he didn't wrestle until end of February, but throughout the season, he was still locked in at the number 1 by all the rankings. Is there just that big of a disparity between him and the rest of the group, or do you think it was more of because of the craziness of the season, we know what to expect from him because of his past performances?
Not at all. I mean, he's not that separated from everyone in this weight class, especially in folk style wrestling. I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised that all year long they kept him there, without wrestling. I thought they would make a couple changes and drop him out completely if he didn't wrestle. So I was a little surprised. I kept him at 1 in the middle of January and late January and start of February as some of the first rankings were coming out. So, I just, sometimes they just, is it right? Is that probably where he should be as we're going in? Probably, so maybe they felt the same way, but normally they'll drop you out if you're not competing by at least February 1.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Real quick, I want to go back to last year's nationals that never happened. What was that like, having that opportunity taken away for you and for guys like Nick Piccinini, who whose careers ended a little shorter than they would have liked?
Well, it wasn't a good time, don't worry about me because, I get to, I've been to the last 30 of them. It was the student athlete's opportunity. And of course we had some seniors in Nick Piccinini and Joseph Smith that were really wrestling well. It was a bad time. It crushed them. It'd been tomorrow, Friday, the Friday before we started, after practice, about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We were notified, and we were actually at practice. So, and wasn't good, just wasn't a good time. And it was it was something that, you hate to go in and end your season like that. So there's a lot of people that, a lot of the student athletes were just really disappointed. And I think there was, what was important that our seniors didn't get that chance, just making sure they didn't have any regrets, and looking at things, and being bitter for, a lifetime over something like that. So I think they recovered after a couple of weeks and moved on with their lives and decided, just one bad moment in time for me. So anyway, wasn't good.
And what are you looking forward to most next season? Now that it kind of seems like we're near the end of this thing.
I'm not worried about next season. I got a week and a half to go, and I'm excited about where we're at. And we got pretty good shape in the future. But the only way you're really in good shape is when you have guys that have done some things from the year before, and so that's real important. I mean, I'm looking at these rankings, and I'm going, we're projected to have two guys that are to place, 3 guys to place. That's not enough. We need more than that. As you go into the next season, and you really want to challenge for top honors. So wherever you're ranked, we need to recognize that you build teams on performances from the year before, and so this is our opportunity.
And with Daton, I was wondering, was there like a specific moment where you kind of knew that he was gonna be a really good wrestler and a leader of your team, or was that just something you always knew since he was in high school?
No, not always. I think it's something that he takes responsibility for what he does. And then he changes it. And I don't know. So that many people doing that in anything anymore. So he held himself responsible for a 6-1 victory at Big 12. I didn't even need to say anything to him. So and when you have guys like that, they are quite often your guys that can compete for championships, and not just saying that, oh, he's one guy. No, he will compete for a championship. They're just different, and it's characteristics, and they don't hide behind. They don't hide behind it. They expose it and expose it on themselves and change it. So that's the difference. And did I always know he was this kid when he was at Sand Springs? Oh, I'd been around Dayton a long time. I knew it was. I knew he was a good wrestler. But once I got to know him personally on a daily basis, there's things I saw that a few wrestlers in the world have.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions for Coach?
I have a quick one. Sorry. Hi, I'm Danielle Dwyer. I'm with the Fox affiliate up in Oklahoma City. I'm sorry if you have answered this question before, but the high school girls state wrestling tournament happened a couple weeks ago, the first one ever here in Oklahoma. And I talked with some of the wrestlers just about what the future outlook looks like for them. And a lot of them do want to compete at the college level. And I thought, what better coach to ask than somebody who is part of such a storied program in the country, and just maybe your thoughts on what would it take to grow wrestling for women at the college level. I know it's starting to pick up more and more, but do you think you see maybe a future happening at Oklahoma State, since you guys have had so much success on the men's side. It kind of seems really fitting maybe to look down that avenue. And I just wanted to get your overall thoughts on, I guess, getting women's wrestling to be more prevalent at the college level.
Well, I think the one thing, there's already been a junior college announced here recently, I think yesterday, that both men and women program is going to start here in the state at a junior college.
Carl State.
Yeah, Carl Alberts. So this is nothing new, I mean, even back when I wrestled my last tournament in 1992 at the Olympics, women's wrestling existed then. I mean, it was there. And to see where it's come has been amazing. It didn't seem like it grew a whole lot in the first, 20 years since I've wrestled. But man, the last several years has been kind of cool to see, that just, it's something that we can do, and it's something athletic departments can do at a very little expense. It's not an expensive sport. It's a sport that doesn't require a whole lot other than mats. And that's real important. It's that it is a simple sport where we just have wrestling mats and it doesn't require a lot. We're seeing a lot of programs that have already picked it up. I think as far as the NCAA making an emerging sport, I think actually I believe that the women have already met that status of becoming a NCAA sport. They're still under emerging status. So Oklahoma State, I will say that we've been in talks about women's wrestling. And we've been in serious talks about it. So that's all I could really tell you, other than, it's definitely something that's on our radar that if the future presents an opportunity, I think that Oklahoma State wrestling would start it.
Have you ever, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think, you just want to kind of, it's a lot of things are happening so fast in women's wrestling that sometimes you want to make sure that you're making good decisions at the right time. Yeah.
Have you ever, I guess, it's not uncommon, especially for schools that don't have girls programs at the high school level or women's programs at the college level yet. It's not uncommon for them to wrestle guys. Did you ever wrestle any girls when you back when you were competing, or have you ever helped coach, or
Me?
has anybody ever reached out to you at all since you've started in the coaching ranks, I guess, from the area? I don't know if like some of the girls maybe just reach out for advice, or I guess have ever tried asking for any help from you.
Yeah, I've helped a lot of girls. I've helped coach some young girls overseas in world championships. Several years. I've worked with a few of them at Colorado Springs at the U.S. Olympic in Colorado Springs, the training center. I think we all have Division I coach. I think we all have. I think, that as time passed, we definitely changed. I'm not saying from the start in '92, was this what are women wrestling for? Maybe we said that, and I probably did say it, but I think as we saw the commitment of the student athletes and their commitment of how much they love wrestling, it changed me forever. It's like, yes, women can wrestle. I see these young girls with the passion and the drive and the hunger. I mean, I'm all in. Yeah, why can't they wrestle? As far as me, I grew up in a family of 10, and I had 5 older sisters, and they kicked my ass for a long time before I won anything. I could go win anything in the state of Oklahoma, and I couldn't win in my own living room against my sisters. So I said this story a lot, but it's true. you know, if there was women's wrestling back then, my sisters, I had a couple of them that would have been Olympic champions. They were that good, and they trained that much and worked out with me that much on the living room floor. So it's a long answer to your question, but yeah, my sisters were tough in wrestling before wrestling kicked off. So for women's wrestling anyway.
No, I love that. And then last for me, I guess, with coaching and talking with these girls too, and just, covering them strategically, is there kind of, I feel the strategy is different a little bit, maybe between girls and guys wrestling sometimes with certain things. Like they talk about, it's just a different strength going up against a guy versus going up against a girl. With coaching, do you notice a big difference in kind of how you approach coaching women maybe versus men?
I don't know if there's going to be that big of a difference wrestling's evolved in women's wrestling. I mean, when you look at some of the women that were wrestling in world championships in those early 90s, and you look at them now, I mean, it's evolved fast. I mean, like, they are so much better right now than you could ever see back then. And of course, you had to have some pioneers that really stepped out there and that made a difference for a lot of people. And we had them here in the United States as well as in several places. But the strength is different, but the training, I don't know, it can't be too much different. We still need to work hard. You still need to be in the weight. You need to do everything to have a balance with your body. And I think the challenge will be for women. Weight could be a different challenge for them because of the makeup of women and men, and being real careful with your diet and things like that, because we are different, so if I see anything that should be different is women should be much more stricter on their diets than men, but just because of the fact that it's harder for women.
Thanks so much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Coach, I just got one more question about Boo. Since the time you've recruited him into now, how much have you seen his work ethic, I guess, grow?
Which one? Who is it?
Boo.
Boo? Yeah, Boo's on here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Boo grew up, through some experiences of injuries and things like that here. That's helped him more than anything. Just, probably one of the most resilient people I've ever been around as far as just, there's so many reasons why he could have quit, and because of his injuries. And I think sometimes, kind of like Daton Fix, when you get away from wrestling, like Daton did this year, like Boo did with a couple of his injuries, just, all of a sudden people forget about you. All of a sudden there's a level of energy that just kind of refocuses you in. Like, I do want it. I do love wrestling. I need to be wrestling, and I think both Boo and Daton kind of experienced those during their career. But, I'll just say this, that I think his injuries have made him stronger as a person in general. I think he's well prepared. I think that if he's prepared to wrestle tough, hard matches and know that and be confident that he can win, he'll win. I think he's that good, so he's come a long ways. I'll just tell you that his journey's been a lot different than most college athletes. And for that reason, here we are with him, a chance to be maybe an All-American national champion in his senior year. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
John, before we
Yes.
let you go real quick, I've noticed it throughout the year, but I have to ask, is that the hat, the infamous hat you wore from the Olympics back behind you over your right shoulder?
Yeah. So that was, have you not heard this story?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, Let me grab it. So this is a true story. So in February of 2019, I get this call from just somebody in the Blues. He goes, "Hey, Coach Smith, I have something you want. I'd like to drop it off at your office." And I'm like, well, you know, it didn't say, kind of sounded odd. I didn't know if it was a bomb or what, you know. I'm like, well, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be around. And I'm just kind of like, this is weird. So anyway, I said, you know what? He goes, listen, why don't you call your brother? I've contacted him and go through him. Just, I'm a legit person. So I called Leroy, and Leroy said, oh yeah, yeah. And Leroy said, I know what he's going to give you. You want to see him. So anyway, this is February 19th. So literally 2 years ago from about right now.
Yeah.
This guy comes up and he has this hat. And so from 1992, when I put it on my head and wore it briefly for a little lap, and I threw it back up into the stands to this guy, and 20-something years later, he brings it to me, and he's going through town, and he's had it ever since I threw it back to him when we were in Seoul, Korea. And so when I saw it, I kind of was like, I got a little emotional because it was something I hadn't seen, you know, since 1992. And here we are almost 30 years later. And I always wonder where it went. and so I visited with the guy, and I asked him, you know, how did he get there? What was he doing? And he said, you know, he was just decided he was going to be a cheerleader that weekend and travel around to each and every venue, and just happened to get to my venue during my final match. So anyway, great story. And he gave me the hat after 30 years. And so I've had it for a couple.
That's cool.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Boo Lewallen's on the call. Y'all can go ahead and start asking him questions.
Boo, real quick to kind of go back to the conversation that Danielle was having with John. I got a photo of you doing autographs of you know, with some young kids after you won your Big 12 championship, and among that group was a handful of young girls as well. Did you take note of that? And what was that thought process, realizing that it's no longer just young boys coming up to you asking for autographs? The girls in the state are now, you know, wanting your guys' autographs at the college level as well.
You know, I think that's awesome. For me personally, I grew up wrestling. Whenever I was growing up wrestling at Little League and stuff, you know, I had girls that were in my brackets growing up. So, you know, it's not uncommon, but it's definitely it's being more of, there's more women actually participating, which is awesome to see. You know, a girl like Becca Leathers, who grew up wrestling in the same brackets as me and Joe when we were younger and stuff. So it's cool to see, especially like, you know, like you said, you know, like I mean, signing those autographs is pretty in itself, but with both boys and girls coming up asking for autographs, it's pretty cool to see.
Well, I mean, what do you think about the fact that they finally got their own state tournament this year?
That's awesome. You know, I think that's like Coach said, and when he answered his questions, you know, like, why can't they? You know, why haven't they had their own state tournament? I think it's something that, you know, it's going to keep growing, and, you know, I'm sure the state of Oklahoma has plenty of participants, and, you know, we're going to see it evolve quickly, I bet. And the talent's there, and I'm sure the work ethic will be there. So hopefully here in the soon future, we can get some Division I programs with women's wrestling, and we're going to see it right on the big stage with us. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to next weekend. What'd you think of your seating? I mean, do you feel like you were underseated at number 4?
No, I mean, I kind of figured that's where it'd be. You know, got beat by the kid from Missouri, and you know, that's kind of where I'd been all year, and that's kind of where I assumed I'd be. So it's what I thought would happen, and, it's I'm just excited to be in the tournament. The tournament's happening. I'll be ready for that first round match and then worry about the next one after that.
You talked about losing to the Missouri kid. Obviously, that shows you the talent there is in that top 4 group. How can you carry over what you learned from that match, knowing what it's going to take to get to the semifinals, what it's going to take to go beyond the semifinals?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Coach said, if I'm willing to wrestle hard for the entirety of the match, then I'm confident in my abilities. If I'm out there standing around keeping them in the match, who knows what could happen, right? So I think for me, it's just believing in myself to the fullest, and which I do, and going out and competing every moment of the match. And if something happens, I adapt to it and get the next point, focus on the next takedown, whatever that may be. So I'm excited again, man. I'm pumped for this opportunity, and I'll be ready for it.
I'm not sure if you were on the call yet, but John informed us that Wyatt got the call from the NCAA saying, "Hey, there's been a withdrawal. You're in."
I saw something on Twitter. Before I got on here. That's awesome.
What's the reaction, especially somebody around your weight? I'm sure you train with him, but then also an Oklahoma kid himself.
Yeah, man, that was I used to me and Wyatt and Nick were roommates for 2 years. So Wyatt, he's one of my better friends, and that's awesome. He's that's a tough guy. Wyatt Sheets is. So I'm excited for him, and I'm sure he's pumped for the opportunity as well.
How tough has this year been for him? I mean, you've been through injuries yourself, and here he is dealing with a knee injury that, I mean, the thing I always joke about is it looks like he's wearing Barry Bonds, armor on his leg just to go out there.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he's a tough dude. I dealt with my own injuries, and they had their own issues that presented with it, but his are unique in its own way, and that's one tough cat. Man. He I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it other than that. I'm proud of him, and I'm excited that he's getting this opportunity.
I'm sure you're looking forward to getting into the room then with him later today.
For sure. He's still been there. He hasn't left.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, Boo, I was just curious because I remember at the beginning of the season, after I think it was the duels against Chattanooga and Oregon State, you talked about how in middle school at your house, you would set up your mat, you'd watch John Smith videos. Now you've won your third Big 12 title, and you're the number 4 seed. So I just have to ask, going back to when you were a kid as a wrestler, what was your motivation to be great?
I don't know if it was like wanting to be great or what it really was. There's something about wrestling for me as a young kid that I was just really intrigued, and I had friends that would play football, and I played baseball, and I had friends that were in baseball and stuff. But, like I don't know, for me as a young kid, like I saw kids that were playing football and other sports, and they were really good maybe. And I just wanted to be really good at something. I don't know if I thought as far as, like greatness or stuff like that. I just wanted to succeed, and I knew wrestling was a certain time of the year. Throughout the Little League process, there's like, you got your season and then there's freestyle, but I just focused on like trying to get good at certain things, and for me it was takedowns. And Coach Smith just so happened to be one of the best ever at the low single leg. And, I just studied it just like you would if you were going to class and you're trying to pass an exam, same concept, it's just, I'm studying every single thing that he was saying and working it by myself, so, I think I had a drive as a little kid to be good at something, and for me, I was very competitive. So wrestling worked out for me since I could put all the weight on my shoulders, and I didn't have anybody else to blame, whether it was my teammates. If we lost a football game, I could have blamed it on somebody else or whatnot. But wrestling was unique in itself because it was all on you and it was all on your shoulders. So for me, I think that was the biggest thing. Like I said, just I was wanting to be good at something, and and I was willing to put the work in at a young age, whether that was, studying the film and dissecting it, or actually putting the work in. So
Yeah. Well, and then also on Twitter. I mean, your Twitter name is I pick ankles. I know that single leg takedown is one of your favorites. But between now, I mean, how have you just, I guess, overall, I guess, how have you diversified your offense to where it's not just that ankle pick now?
yeah, I mean, I think I've diversified it for sure with a couple of other leg attacks. But you know what? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. If like I'm gonna go for that takedown and then you can't stop it, I think that takes a lot out of guys, and I'm not gonna stop shooting that shot just because somebody knows I'm gonna be shooting it, or and there's just so many different things that go into getting the takedown, with moving your hands and making the guy react. And so I think that's where I've diversified a lot, is making guys react and opening up angles so that I can get to that leg attack instead of just, solely focusing on shooting that one shot. It's going to take a couple different attacks or a couple different, sequences throughout my hand fighting to get to those angles, to get to that ankle pick. So, like I said, it's I'm gonna shoot it. It's my shot, and if I don't get it, I'll figure out how to get to the leg some other way.
And then obviously with your third title, you become one of the three OSU 149 three-time champions. Coach Espo is another one. Over the years, I mean, especially with dealing, because Coach Espo has gone through that. What advice has he given to you over the years?
Man, he's given me a bunch of advice. Espo's been a big part in my career at Oklahoma State, and I think just ultimately it comes back down to believing in myself, and I know how to wrestle. I've wrestled my whole life. I've wrestled at big events. I've been at the biggest stage. I'm prepared. So I think from him it's just been believing in yourself and letting loose out there. Not holding anything back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Boo, I got a question for you. Any chance you go back to blonde hair for the NCAA tournament?
I don't know. Maybe we got to see if we can figure that out.
All
Stay
right.
tuned.
Will the missus allow that?
Yeah, she won't care. She wouldn't care.
All right.
Any other questions for Boo? All right, thanks for joining us, Boo.
Thanks,
Yeah, no
Boo.
problem.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Boo.
All right, guys. Daton is. I've been texting with him. He's getting the oil change in his car, so he's gonna try to get on here pretty soon.
Okay.
But it might be a couple minutes.
All right. Thanks.
All right, you ready, Daton?
Yep.
All right, go ahead and start asking questions, guys.
Daton, it's been a few years since you've been to this big of a tournament. What's the excitement like getting back into that NCAA tournament?
I'm really excited. Last time I was there, it didn't end how I would have liked it to. So, that's that whole experience. It's still something that I think about all the time. I haven't forgot about the feeling of walking off that stage and not getting my hand raised. So it's something that I've been excited to get back to the stage and change the outcome.
Well, and obviously it was a controversial ending, and it brought so many questions from people. One being, why do we even need headgear, stuff like that. I know some people were questioning, should you shave your head so it doesn't, so you can see the headgear clearly. I mean, what was that controversial ending like for you in the process after that fact?
The thought process for me was that I didn't do enough to win the match. I had more than enough time to score more than, I don't know, I think I scored 2 points in the match. So I had plenty of opportunities to score, and I needed to take advantage of that time, and I didn't do enough. And I can't leave it up to to somebody else's decision. If I, if I really want to win, then I'm going to take matters in my own hands and get the job done.
Obviously, you take it one match at a time and whatnot, but looking at your entire field, John said he felt that there's not a big gap between you and the rest of the field. How do you feel that this bracket looks like when you just look at everyone in that weight class?
Whenever you're at these smaller weights, everybody can wrestle. They're all going to be tough, and you get down to the NCAA tournament, everybody's going to be ready to go out and perform. So you just have to be ready for every match.
Thanks, Aiden.
Dayton, I'm just curious. So, kind of what Jason said, but the seeds, and the number 2 seed is RBY of Penn State. What do you think about RBY?
He's a great competitor. He wrestles for a school that we're going to be right there with in the team standings. So that's it's important for me to outplace him in the team race.
Thanks.
Dayton, at what point at Oklahoma State did you know that you could be a good wrestler and compete for national titles every year?
I've always looked at myself as someone that's can compete for national titles. I was as a senior in high school, as a redshirt freshman, I was looking at myself. I was looking at the guys in my weight, and I was like, I'm right there with all these guys in my weight class. So, I've always, I expect the most out of myself.
Do we have any other questions for Daton?
Yeah, Dayton. We found out this morning that Wyatt has been added to the 157-pound bracket after a withdrawal. I guess your initial reaction to finding out that another one of your teammates is going to be joining you and getting his first opportunity at the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome for him. He missed out on the opportunity last year, and then once again, he's obviously he was the first guy out, and now he gets to gets a chance to go compete in the national tournament, and I'm real happy for him, proud of him, but he gets an opportunity, and whenever you have an opportunity to go out there and kind of prove yourself, then he can go take hold of that opportunity and shock some people.
Obviously, you have the experience of being a young guy, a freshman, with so much expectations going into the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you kind of have that in AJ this year. What words of advice would you give him with having experienced that yourself, being a guy that there was a lot of expectations in your first one there?
I mean, my advice to him is just to go wrestle how he always does. He does a great job of staying focused, and like I said, after the Big 12 tournament, he wrestles the whole match, and that's all you can really ask out of someone. Go out there and compete in every position you get in, and he's a good enough wrestler that he's gonna be fine as long as he does that.
Looking back, was there a mental hurdle that you had to get over when you got there? Because I know you've been at the international stage and whatnot, but at the same time, there's always this hype that I hear from every guy of the NCAA. There's something about the NCAA tournament, and having grown up going to those and seeing that center mat and all that stuff, and having that experience. Was there a mental hurdle that you had to get over that first year?
I don't think there was that big of a mental hurdle for me, honestly. I've been going to the NCAA tournament since 2006. I've been to every one since. So I'm just I'm used to that environment. Even if you're in the stands, I've been on the floor. So it's just it's kind of like home to me. I just every year around this time, that's where I'm going. I'm going to the NCAA tournament, and these past couple years, it's just been going. It's just a little different. You're going to compete instead of watch, and that just makes me even more excited as we lead up to that.
Looking at team goal, obviously, not getting to take a whole field, a whole team, only technically based on seeding, 3 guys expected to be All-Americans. That never always happens. Seems like somebody's going to come up, but just the team goal going into this one with kind of being undermanned.
I think our goal every time we go out there is to, win matches. And if we go out there and we win the matches we're supposed to win, then we should walk away with the team trophy for sure.
Thanks, Aiden.
Yep, no problem.
All right, I think that's all the questions we got. Thanks for joining us, Daton.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Dayton. Thanks, Reed.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Reed.